You know, I've talked a lot about LeBron James and Michael Jordan over the years, man, to the point where I really had just gotten tired of talking about these two dudes. You know what I mean? I really do. I get tired of talking about them. Sometimes when I go like days or even a week or so without making a video, it's because everything that I'm seeing is out there that's NBA related. Is a made up story or an extension of an old story, just having an excuse to talk about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. It's tiresome. But, however, I think this video has to be made because I think some people have some shit twisted out there, okay? The narrative out there is that, about me, is that I'm a Jordan fanboy that can't let go of the past. You have absolutely no idea who you're talking to when you accuse me of that. None. You don't know who you're talking to. Let me school you on something. Was I a Jordan fan when I was a kid? Yeah. A teenager? Yeah. Yeah. I remember I used to watch Bulls games, and I used to write down like Mike's numbers and shit, and sometimes Scotty's too. But I used to write down Mike's numbers and try to figure out his field goal percentage and how many games it's going to take him per average to pass, Magic Johnson in career points, and then later on Bird, and and all the other greats, Oscar and Jerry West, and I used to do all that type of shit, right? And I believe the cult of personality. I'll get back to that in a moment. That Michael was this great guy who was a great father, a loving husband, and a great teammate, and this magical player, and all this shit, okay? But you know what happens is that you grow up. And you grow up, and you begin to get better at weeding out real shit from bullshit. You get better at weeding out real shit from bullshit. And I started, as we went through social media, we got social media and internet grew, we had social media, whatever. You start reading things, and you start seeing more shit out there. And then, as time goes on, more and more details come out. And then you start seeing that this guy isn't what you think he is. Now, do I think Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time? I think he's the greatest NBA player of all time, but I think Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. Though a case can be made for Wilt Chamberlain, I think. A case can be made for that's about it, man. Maybe I don't see it, but maybe Julius Erving, but I don't really see that one. But that's my opinion about him as a basketball player. Tremendous. But as a person, Michael Jordan is far from honorable. He's cheap at times. He was a serial adulterer. When I say cheap, I mean, I remember there was a story where Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan were driving around. I don't know, it might have been in Chicago or something. And they went past a homeless guy. And this guy seemed like he was legitimately homeless. And Charles Barkley was going to lean out the window and get this guy like a $20 bill to get something to eat. And Michael said to Charles, don't give that guy a $20 bill. He can go to McDonald's for application and get a job. There's nothing wrong with him. He's lazy. And I think, look, I understand that sometimes there are people out there who are scam artists. So there's some people out there who, are using cons to get over. I get that. But there are people out there who are struggling. And I think Michael Jordan sometimes come across as a bit of a douchebag, man. There's so many different stories out there about how much of an asshole he is. So many. I mean, I don't even want to go through so many of them, but all of them point to the fact that this guy's greedy. He's a serial adulterer. He's a bit of an egotist. He does think he's the greatest player of all time. There's a lot of players out there right now that he doesn't like. He doesn't particularly like LeBron James. He does respect Kobe Bryant, however. And he was far from a great teammate at times. There were certain teammates that he ran out of town. One that comes to mind is Brad Sellers. He was a bit of a prima donna. I do believe, though, when Michael came back for the second three-peat, he was a better teammate. Now, whether that was because he became a better person, maybe because his father's death, changed him in some way, I don't know. But I think it was a combination of him getting older and also him realizing that he needed to rely on his teammates more because his skills were diminishing. I think it had a lot to do with that, because when Michael was in his prime, he can win you any regular season game and shit all the way up until the second or third round of the playoffs. Just his peak play alone could win you some series. Now, when you got the championship round, he needed a little help. But that's with Michael, okay? He's an asshole. And I've said that. But some people still want to say I'm a Jordan fanboy. I don't get it. You know what I mean? About LeBron, though. This is what a lot of these guys don't understand. People always talk about how the media was all in for, Jordan and all that. Well, LeBron gets a lot of protection today. Stephen A. Smith alluded to that, saying that he's heard some things about LeBron that he's never revealed from people who were his teammates. I can tell you just from observing him, reading the things that he says, listening to things he says, that he has a tremendous ego and he's extraordinarily narcissistic. He's a prima donna of prima donnas. Now, the only thing about it, what was different between him and Barry Bonds, Barry Bonds grew to become contemptuous of the media. LeBron James is so intelligent that he realizes he needs the media to feed. The media has to the media creates the narrative. They have a lot of power. I always say that the media really is the fourth branch of government and only one without checks and balances. The media can create LeBron James's legacy for him. They could do a lot of the work for him. Barry Bonds antagonized the media so much that that's one of the reasons, despite the steroid allegations, they're one of the main reasons why he's not in the Hall of Fame now. So that was the difference. But LeBron James, or one of the differences, LeBron James is an asshole. He's cheap. I remember reading so many different times about when he was in Cleveland, especially before he got married. Maybe it's even increased now. Whenever he would go to restaurants and they would rack up $700, $800, tabs and $1,000 tabs, $1,200 tabs, and you have a waitress who's working very hard to please that type of entourage, that type of group of people, and he would tip them $5 to $10. This is a guy who is making, at least at that time, $15 million a year. Now is making $30+ million a year, and you only can give a person a tip of $10. I can do better than that. He's a dick to people who he thinks is beneath him, which is the average fan, the average person in this country. Anybody who calls himself king has to have some sort of narcissistic personality disorder. He ran Delonte West out the NBA. He's pretty much barred Delonte West from the NBA. And in many ways, LeBron James has more power than Michael Jordan did. And I'll tell you why. I think there's some truth. There's a little bit of truth to the rumors that Michael Jordan was sort of forced out the NBA because of the gambling allegations. I think there's a little bit. I don't want to say it's totally true, but there might be something to that. Michael Jordan also never wielded. The closest he came to the power LeBron has, in my opinion, was the second three-peat. Even though he wasn't the same guy, the sort of aura that he had at that time was unparalleled. Okay, the power that he had and the influence was probably at the strongest there. I think LeBron James's power right now even exceeds Michael's because he's cleared away the game's most profitable and greatest star right now. To the point where you have people who know better and should know better, people who know the game of basketball, I think because of the influence of ESPN and vis-a-vis the NBA and to an extent LeBron James or whatever, they've reinvented history in a lot of ways. They've, dumbed down the average NBA fan to the point where a lot of guys don't even know a guy like Bingo Smith or Cassie Russell, right? But they'll say that they're Cavalier fans. Excuse me. Something's wrong, man. You know what I mean? Don't even know who Terrell Brandon was. Don't even know who Mark Price was. Larry Nance. Brad Daugherty. But they can tell you everything LeBron James loves, his favorite music, his favorite foods, what music he likes, Probably could tell you what color condoms he used to use. That's what you call cult of personality. Michael never had that type of cult of personality. Now you could say that if social media was around, maybe whatever, that's possible, yeah. But I never seen people so infatuated with one NBA player the way that LeBron fans are with him. It's almost homoerotic, to be honest with you. It is. If you see the way that some people react to me when I criticize LeBron James, it's absolutely head-scratching. It's not like I'm saying that I think this guy is a piece of shit or all of this or talking about his family or no stupid shit like that. I'm just giving the opinion that I think the guy is a bit of a jerk. Okay, now there's something to what Kyrie Irving did. There's something behind that. Now, like I said, Michael Jordan has ran some guys off of that team. But generally speaking, he usually ran people off the teams that he were on that he thought couldn't fucking play. He didn't think Brad Sellers could play. Okay? He thought a lot of those earlier players that were on his team were crackheads, cokeheads, and they couldn't fucking play. Until the Bulls finally put some guys around him that could play, okay? Kyrie Irving can play. Kyrie Irving right now would be probably the best point guard in the history of the Chicago Bulls organization. There's no one who can convince me that Michael Jordan would not have loved to play with a Kyrie Irving, okay? A guy who can create his own shot at point guard. A guy who does not hesitate to take the game-winning shot, whether he misses or loses, okay? Excuse me. My issue with LeBron, and I'm starting to believe this is true, according to multiple sources, one of the determining factors why Kyrie Irving is leaving Cleveland is because outgoing Cleveland Cavaliers general manager David Griffith told Kyrie Irving after he was gone from his position. He told Kyrie Irving that LeBron James requested that the Cleveland Cavaliers organization trade him for his good buddy Chris Paul right after they won the championship in 2016. This is after Kyrie Irving busted his ass, scoring 40 points, I think, on multiple occasions, hitting the championship-winning shot. Okay? Yes, LeBron had the great block. Yes, it was a big factor, okay, in them winning the game. Even though they won by 4, and if Iguodala scored a bucket, they still would have won. But anyway, you do all of this, and this guy still requests that you get traded just to please him in every way, shape, or form. Oh, I must play with all of my friends. Please appease me. It's all about me, 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 me. Like I said before, whenever you read an interview with LeBron James, I have never seen the word "I" used so much, ever. It's so bad that sometimes LeBron James does speak about himself in the third person. That's when you're like a megalomaniac. Okay. Why do you think he's so sensitive about his hairline? He can't take criticism, but he can't concede to the criticism. That's why instead of shaving his fucking head like Michael did, when the Pistons, used to razzle him about his fucking hair, he just said, fuck it. I'm going to shave my head so y'all guys won't have any ammunition to fuck with me about that. This problem solved. This nigga has to be complicated about it. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to put in hair from my ass cheeks and put on top of my head, you know what I'm saying, and that's going to fix the problem. Meanwhile, you're still balding. So the ass hairs at the top of your head are sitting up there, dingleberries and all, but you're still balding. So you got to keep putting more and more ass hair on top of your fucking oddly shaped head. And people are laughing at you. Just shave your fucking head, man, or cut it close. Back in the day, these guys didn't give a fuck about hairlines. You think World B. Free was giving a fuck about what his hairline looked like when he was busting motherfuckers for 35 points, 40 points? But that's just my take, man. I think that both of these dudes are assholes. And, that's my problem. I have problems with people who think that LeBron James is this swell, peachy keen guy. Now, I do like the fact that he's socially conscious. But even with that, he only goes but so far. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say he should be Colin Kaepernick, but he's the type of guy who really could afford to be Colin Kaepernick because of his status. You know what I mean? You think that he would have a problem getting a job in the NBA, or that he would have problems getting endorsement if he stepped out and said certain things that Colin Kaepernick did? But, that's just my take, man. Tell me what you guys think.